So basically, this is just kind of an overview of where Sammy is in percentile rank. His peers were in the 41st percentile, and Sammy was in the 13th for reading. And again, that would have something to do with the decoding, and we think that if we focus on that through additional supports, that's something that Sammy can definitely improve upon. And then for writing, for the ITBS, his peers were in the 41st percentile rank, and then Sammy was in the 11th. And again, that's something with his auditory learning that we can definitely work on. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Sammy's behavior, and we're just going to kind of outline what the school and what Iowa's core concepts and skills are for behavior standards and benchmarks. And so part of the Iowa essential skills, that's something that they identified, would be that students would understand interactions between themselves and their peers, and then themselves and teachers, so just understanding what's appropriate and when it's appropriate. And then understanding behaviors that might cause conflict, so being able to identify what may negatively impact someone or what may positively impact someone, being aware of other people's feelings and opinions, accepting feedback, constructive feedback, listening to others, following directions, and being able to express your ideas openly. And so at our school, we use the character counts model, and that's something that involves 6 pillars, and those 6 pillars kind of determine how we act towards one another. And the 6 pillars are respectful, being respectful, responsible, and using safe behavior in school. So basically it's just kind of what the teachers focus on, and then everyone focuses on using positive feedback rather than negative feedback when someone does something wrong. It's more about the positive things that they do.
Okay, as for in the classroom, as we've said before, Sammy, if he's interested in the subject, he's very motivated, very gung-ho, wants to do his work and wants to do it right. However, if it is something not of his preference, he lacks in following directions, and he starts to have aggressive behavior towards myself and other students, which is something we do not tolerate in school. So something we've been practicing lately is a walk-away program, and this is when if he is starting to feel angry or anything, he has to depend on himself to make positive choices, and usually it's just to walk across the hall to Mr. Wall's office, help him out in there, and then when he feels like he can become calm again, he can come back to the room and we can give him choices on what he can do, which he seems to be enjoying. But I was also wondering, is this something you could practice at home? If he is getting aggressive towards you or his siblings, could you implement the walk away at home, have him go to his room and come back when he's calm?
Yeah, we could do that.
Or is there something that you're currently doing that you find to be helpful that maybe we could use?
I think we kind of use the same strategy. We just kind of give him his own space. You know, he takes time away from other people. If he can't behave appropriately at home, he takes his time away either outside or in his room.
Okay. Well, that sounds like that would be something that we could continue with then.
Okay. How does he act in the office?
The office, he's pretty good. I mean, like you said, when they're practicing the walkaway strategy, he usually will walk across to my office, and whether it's just time to cool off, either count to 10 or maybe we just practice walking down the hall to grab a drink. He usually always has a pretty positive attitude once he gets in the office, and he's pretty quick to go back to the classroom, which is always good to see. So definitely see lots of good things coming from Sammy.
We also sometimes, when Sammy is more aggressive, sometimes we'll send him to do work with a guidance counselor just to kind of talk about what happened and decide how maybe he could handle that situation different, and then kind of talk about what an appropriate consequence of some aggressive behavior would be. And so he kind of is able to navigate with the guidance counselor through all situations, so that hopefully that's something that Sammy could do on his own without the guidance counselor, which is something that we see as a possibility for him. We've also taught Sammy replacement behaviors for when he feels overwhelmed or when he feels like he's getting kind of aggressive about something. Things like changing the order of the work completion. So maybe he works with his teacher to make sure that that maybe he gets to do the thing that he wants to do first, and then the thing that maybe she's asking him to do second, so that way he has some choice in it. Or asking for breaks before beginning an assigned task, or in the middle of it, just him taking breaks when he needs to. And then we provide guidance whenever he chooses any of those. But he would also be taught these through modeling, individual and small group instruction for 25 minutes per day. And then the reinforcement was done through like verbal praise. So whenever he did a great job, we made sure to point that out. And then through a sticker chart, again, when he had positive behavior, he would get a sticker. And so it was really more about his positive behavior. These were also monitored by me during direct observation, and then things gathered by his classroom teacher, and a daily communication sheet. So there was a log of different events that you've seen and things like that. Okay, so the intervention was implemented 75% of the observation times. So that was when it was used. So before we did the intervention, Sammy had a median of about 7 aggressive acts per week. So those were things like hitting or pushing when he didn't get his way, and I think that you had pointed that out sometimes, that he gets like that with his sister too, when the choice isn't his. And then like things like typical horseplay at recess or physical education were not included in the counting of those aggressive acts. And then we saw that removing him from the setting was often needed before the intervention, and he completed 35% of the work that was assigned, so it was tough for him to complete things when he was upset about everything, which is understandable. Sammy's goal was to reduce his aggressive acts by at least 1 each week, and at the end of the 6-week intervention, he had 2 or fewer aggressive acts per week, which is amazing progress for that 6 weeks. There is a school policy of expectations of 0 aggressive acts. However, we've kind of determined that through working with Sammy, we think that eventually he can move towards that, and right now he's doing great, so that's something that we'll just continue to work on. And then now Sammy is he's completing 80% of the assigned work, so that's a huge jump, and so we think that this is really having a positive impact on his attitude, on his academic performance.
His grades are definitely rising because of this.
Yeah, and his interactions with his peers seem to be more positive, so that is really something that we found to be helpful for him, and we really enjoyed watching him grow in that area.